Hello there, interwebs. I am the Bechtloff, and this is, of course, my podcast. And apologize, the podcast a little later than normal. I I went to record it yesterday. I had a friend of mine involved in it. He was a guest, and we were talking about the DC reboot primarily. Why the new 52 is bad, and everyone involved should feel bad. And we got a good podcast done up, and then of course technical issues. The file got corrupted on me, and it was gone. And due to time restraints, we weren't able to re-record. So, yeah, I didn't get around to doing a replacement for it until today. And you know what? It leads me to something I've talked about for a while now. Our, the technology we have is fucking junk. It really is. Um, I mean, it's more advanced, sure, but it doesn't work half the time. I mean, at this rate, in like 100 years, we're all going to have spaceships that can travel in between star systems, but 20% of the time, they just fucking, shit the bed in hyperspace and spread your molecules across the galaxy as a fine paste. And we're just going to be like, well, that's just how it is. Sometimes, you get the red ring of death, literally, a ring of your molecules ever expanding across. I mean, it's all junk anymore. Stuff is poorly programmed. There's no. It's certainly not intuitive to use half the time. At least if you're not trying to do exactly what the manufacturer wants you to do. It's just. It's crap anymore. It really is. Um, I mean, like I have an NES downstairs, an old Nintendo. I have a Super Nintendo, and they're both 20, 30 year old systems, and they work fine. Meanwhile, my Nintendo Wii, after I had it for like 6 years, 7 years, something like that, just shit the bed on me. Ended up getting a Wii U. I mean, your Xbox isn't all. I got the red ring of death on my Xbox. This is not something we should just tolerate as just part of it. I mean, do you remember when you maybe if you're my age when you were a kid and you had like an old Nintendo or a Sega or something? Do you ever remember hearing stories of how they would brand new, less than a year old, just shit the bed, just fucking die? People would have been up in arms. I spent all this money on it, but Xbox just fucking does that, or it did for a while. I think that's more or less hammered out. But that's not acceptable. Why do we accept this? I mean, like I had a Walkman when I was a kid. A tape player Walkman. I couldn't tell you how many times I dropped that fucker down the steps. Still worked. Pardon me. I had it till like 2005. Still worked then. I lost it in a move. It never finally died, far as I know. It could still be working now, for all I know. If somebody else has it. Who knows where it ended up. Probably in a garbage heap somewhere, but whatever. If I still had it, it might presumably still work. Meanwhile, my MP3 routinely just shits the bed if I look at it funny, and I gotta reboot it and put all the songs back on it. Why do we just accept this? Why do we think this is fine? This is okay. This is how things should be. Cause it's not. It's just not. I guess part of the reason technology's gotten so degenerate is our money is so worthless. So they make things in such cheap ways, just so they don't have to jack the price way up through the roof, because our money is just worthless anymore. Um, it's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and like maybe you like a particular style of ice cream, and you'll notice that there's less in the containers now. Well, that's because they don't want to jack up the price, so they just put less in it. It's kind of what our tech is doing. They don't want to jack up the price, so they just make it out of crap. Oh, pardon me. So yeah, that was a big irritant to me. I had that podcast all done up. It would have been a really nice podcast, and I'll get them again probably next week. We'll talk about it. But so yeah, this week I'm just had to do some other topics, and yeah, I didn't get around to doing it last night. I had other shit I had to do, and just time restraints. We couldn't re-record, but we'll get it up next week. This week, I want to start off by talking about the 50 Shades of Grey trailer, because that just came out. Now, I read the book a couple years ago. Reviewed it on my blog. I don't want to say it's a terrible book, because it's really not. It's certainly not a good book, but it's not as bad as everyone's made it out to be. You know, everyone's like, it's the worst book. I mean, it's not like Twilight bad or something. You know, I got through it. It had its moments. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a good book either. I don't want you to think I'm saying go read 50 Shades of Grey. But you could probably do a lot worse if you were going to read a romance novel. But the trailer for the movie came out this week. And I'm hearing some of the most ridiculous things about it. First of all, I want to say the trailer, actually, I thought it looked kind of good. I'm not going to lie. Thought it looked kind of good. I'm not maybe necessarily going to go see this movie in the theater, but I might check it out on Redbox or Netflix or something, because it looks decent. Looks well done. Looks like a decent enough romance movie. But people have been losing their shit about it, particularly the feminist, liberal, R-type degenerates about it. And I'm hearing some of the most ridiculous things. First of all, like, if you go watch the trailer, it's reasonably tame, and the book itself is pretty fucking tame. But the people like that hipster feminist pseudo geek twat Lindsay Ellis was all on her Twitter like this is the male lead seemed creepy, and I thought it seemed like a horror movie. What the fuck? And then there was that guy on the Daily Beast. I don't remember his name, but he was all like, I found this trailer alarming, and I thought he was gonna kill her. And I hear feminists say like, oh, BDSM is abuse, and I've heard some churchianity idiots say this too. For full disclosure, I should probably say I have dabbled in the old BDSM black arts a bit myself in the past. Big thunderstorm going outside. I don't know if that picking up on the mic. Loud as shit though. Distracted there, but yeah, I've dabbled in that a bit in the past, and it's not abuse. Look, certainly there are people that are into that scene, for lack of a better term, and there are some submissives that are just dealing with self-loathing issues, and there are some dominants that are just outright sociopaths. And yeah, there's some people that are going way too far down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to deny that. But by the same token, I'm gonna defend BDSM. I just flat out am. I don't. Oscar Wilde said it best, and I love this quote. I just absolutely love it, because it just nailed something just so true about the human condition. But Oscar Wilde said that everything in the world is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. And he's just absolutely right there. I saw this interesting thing. It was a commenter on one of these articles talking about this, where he said under it, he goes, BDSM is to sex what a Catholic Mass is to a Protestant service. In that, like, a Catholic Mass is all pomp and ceremony, whereas a Protestant service is, more bare bones, more down to basics. But it's still the same thing. It's worshiping God. And in this respect, it's still the same thing. It's about... Sex has these elements of power exchange and surrender and loss of control and just sex is so much more than just stick it in and pump in and out. There's power exchange is a part of it. BDSM just acknowledges it, and it turns it into pomp and ceremony. But real sex, someone is in charge. I mean, someone is taken. Someone is fucked, and someone is fucking. And it could be the woman in control. She could push you down onto your back and hop on that dick like she owns it. And I've certainly had a few times like that myself. But the point is, there's always a power exchange. There's always someone in control. Always. And BDSM, on its, and again, some people just take it too far. I know that some people have gone way too far down the rabbit hole. But there's something genuinely beautiful about it. And these fucking degenerate archetypes, they can't accept that. These feminists, they can't accept real loss of control. They can't accept that kind of true intimacy because they're too fucking damaged. For them to be calling it abuse and it's alarming and all, I mean, that proves Anonymous Conservative correct in that hypothesis he has in his book Evolutionary Psychology of Politics, where he says that liberals are fucking brain damaged. That amygdala, they have a damaged amygdala. They can't fucking tell real danger from false. They can't tell real threats. They can't tell real abuse. It's why you have feminists saying ridiculous things like, vaginal sex is rape or marriage is slavery. They're just fucking damaged. They're mentally damaged. And they're just, what do you say to that kind of thing? How you even... And I hear some of this from the churchianity crowd too. BDSM is abuse. Yeah, because it's really abuse when two consensual parties are engaging in an activity they both actually want to do. That's abuse somehow. And with the churchianity crowd, they are not able to deal with the darker aspects of sexuality, of healthy sexuality. Anything that's not flowers and romance is a fucking perversion to them. Anything that's not, every other Saturday night the wife and I have missionary with the lights off and all, that's perverse to them. And not to Christians, mind you, I'm saying to the churchianity crowd. And it's because what these churchianity people haven't accepted, and in part I guess this is because they're too far down the old Ken Ham rabbit hole, the old creationist rabbit hole, but they can't accept the fact that while man is more than an animal, man is indeed an animal. Just like every other beast in the field, man pisses and shits and eats and fucks and sleeps and farts and burps like every other beast. But we also build rockets and send men to the moon. We also write literature. We also paint paintings. We also build cars and skyscrapers and roads and civilization. And we also get up Sunday morning and worship God. Obviously there's a dimension to us that the other creatures just don't have. Certainly not to that level. But we're still beasts. We're still animals. I've had Christians tell me before, man's not an animal. I'm like, no, man's not just an animal. But man is an animal. Okay, you're not a plant or a fungus, are you? Well, that leaves one other option. You're an animal, all right? And because they can't accept that, they can't accept the darker aspects of healthy sexuality. They can't accept two people fucking like rabbits. They can't accept it, biting and scratching and baring your teeth and just going at it like fucking animals. They can't accept that. They can't accept that. They can't, this Ned Flanders view. They can't accept they can't accept the ugliness as well as the beauty. For people that walk around talking about original sin and how man is sinful inherently and all that stuff, they're often very, very naive when it comes to human nature. And so you get these feminists mostly talking about this trailer, and you hear them like, oh, it's abuse, it's abusive. Oh, he's a bit. Oh, it's so creepy. It's fucking Puritanism. It's the same shit as these leftist social justice warriors and feminists and all. They're no different than the churchianity crowd when it comes to not being able to accept real art, because again, real art embraces the ugliness as well as they can't deal with it. They can't fit that kind of surrender, that kind of real intimacy into their insane broken worldview. I mean, good lord, when I saw like all the shit Lindsay Ellis was talking on this movie, I thought, man, poor Todd in the Shadows, because if she actually believes this, she must be the most boring fuck in the world. Or maybe she just fucks him with her clitoris. But you know what? I think I'm going to see the movie. I actually do. I think I want to see that movie now because just because they don't want me to. So I might actually go see it in the theater. I suspect it'll do well. You know, it's been this huge phenomenon. And if it does do well, which I suspect it will, I will at the very least enjoy drinking the sweet milk of feminist tears, as once again they fail to understand human nature, particularly the female id. Or at least try to stick their head in the sand and not see it. Alright, so the other thing that's in the news a lot this past week is Israelis and Palestinians are fighting again. Which, you know, is that even really news? It seems like it's more news when they're not. But alright, so that's been all over the news. And it's unfortunate. A lot of innocent people are dying. You know, I would love nothing more than to wake up tomorrow and hear that the Israelis and the Palestinians, you know, beat their rifles into plowshares and they're singing Kumbaya by the fire. That would be fantastic. I'd say good for them. But I'm not holding my breath on that, neither should you. But the one thing that drives me nuts is all these conservatives I'm seeing on social media with their little, you know, posts like, I stand with Israel. You're a fucking idiot. Alright? Because guess what? Israel doesn't give a shit about you. Israel doesn't stand with you. You think if America were being invaded or something, Israel would be here helping us? They don't give a shit about us. Alright? And by the way, these conservatives are the first people that want to talk shit on liberals for being unpatriotic. And rightfully so many times. Meanwhile, you're going around and just falling over yourselves to declare your undying loyalty to a foreign nation. Yeah, that makes a lot of fucking sense. You're real patriots there, aren't you? I'm so sick of it. I am so sick of the United States wasting its blood and its treasure defending Israel. You know who needs to be defending Israel? Israel. Alright? Because I'm tired of it. You know, they don't give a damn about us. They see us as useful idiots at best. I'm tired of it. You know, we're sending them foreign aid. Israel's one of the richest per capita nations in the world, and we're sending them foreign aid. Meanwhile, we're up to our eyeballs in debt. Enough's enough, alright? We don't have the money for it. We don't have the military for it anymore. It needs to come to an end, alright? I've had enough of hearing about how we need to stand with Israel. Israel go fuck itself, alright? Israel can go fuck itself as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? This isn't even like anti-Israel stance on me. This isn't like Israel should be pushed into the sea. I don't give a shit is what it is. Alright? Israel's problems are Israel's problems. Alright? As far as I'm concerned, the Palestinians can go fuck themselves too. I'm done with it. I'm done with us acting like the fucking referee there. Because we're not. Alright? Enough is enough. Too many of our boys have died on Mideast adventures, at least in part, because Israel. Enough is enough. Alright, we need to knock this shit out. Or knock this shit off. I mean, it's enough's enough. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of wasting the money. I'm tired of, you know, I wish, if only our fucking politicians were half as concerned with defending our borders as they were with Israel's. If only our politicians were half as concerned about our problems as they are Israel's. Alright? With keeping terrorists from blowing up our shit as they are Israel's. Alright? You know, maybe if you stop going over to that end of the world and hitting beehives with sticks, and maybe if you secured up fucking immigration, we would never have to worry about a terrorist attack ever again. But no, we gotta fuck around. Oh, defend Israel. You think Israel gives a shit about us? Like, you think they stand with us? They don't give two shits. Nor should they. We're not Israel, alright? They got no reason to fucking care about us. Aside from the fact that we're useful idiots to them, that we're a sugar daddy that fucking gives them money. But aside from that, no, they don't give a shit about us, and why should they? So I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being told I gotta stand with Israel. No, you stand with fucking America, alright? I'm more concerned about fucking Canada's well-being than America, because that's at least right next to us. Hell, we'd be better off trying to fucking fix Mexico. Then maybe they wouldn't all be pouring over here. And again, I'm not even saying that we should. I'm very much a non-interventionist. But at least those are in our backyard. At least those would make sense. No, we got to defend Israel. Why? Because a bunch of idiot Christians think God told them to? No, he didn't. Well, he said he'll bless the nations that bless Israel. No, he didn't say everyone has to line up and suck Israel's dick. You know, it's mostly saying don't fuck with him. And I don't want to fuck with him. Let him be. You guys have your fucking fun, alright? And you know what? If God wants the Jews to be in Israel, and God's perfectly capable of making that happen, he doesn't require the aid and assistance of the United States government or the United States military. I'm pretty sure he's got that. If that's what he wants to do, I'm pretty sure he can get it done. The being that wove the fabric of reality, I'm sure is perfectly capable of defending a small piece of desert. So enough. I am tired of the U.S. being Israel's sugar daddy. I'm tired of it. As far as I'm concerned, you take your I stand with Israel things and shove them right up your ass. Because enough's enough. You know what? That's fucking borderline treason. I'm going to throw around to you what you throw around to the liberals, conservatives. Because imagine if liberals were doing it. Imagine if they were like, I stand with, I don't know, fucking France. They were like, I stand with France. But we have to make sure France is always defended. You conservatives would be calling them fucking traitors. And rightfully so. But no, when you do it, it's fucking fine. Because you have these weird pseudo-religious reasons for doing it, combined with odd sort of fucking white man's guilt over the Holocaust. Shove it up your ass, alright? I don't stand with Israel at all. Israel's problems are Israel's problems. Alright, and it's about time the United States started fixing its own problems. Because trust me, we got a fucking laundry list of them. So yeah, it's time to stop being Israel's sugar daddy. Alright, so on a bit of a lighter note, the other thing going on this weekend has been the San Diego Comic-Con. The big, most giantest, most awesomest Comic-Con ever. And I gotta tell you, despite the fact that I'm one of the biggest comic nerds you could ever hope to meet, I have zero interest in ever going. Ever. First of all, it's on the other side of the country, so it's a hell of a trip. It'd be expensive as hell to do. But even if I fucking lived an hour away, no interest. No interest in it anymore. Not since it became this Hollywood spectacle. I don't want to wait in line 7 hours so I can be in a crowded auditorium when the guy who plays Loki comes out and all the girls scream and it suddenly gets more humid in there, if you know what I'm talking about. I have no interest in it. Alright? Zero. You know, I don't care about half these panels. I don't care about here's some guy who fucking starred in The Walking Dead. I don't even think that's that good of a show. I'm tired of it. And yeah, there were cool announcements, but I can see the announcements from here. You know, I could just log onto the internet and check them out. You know, I didn't have to wait 7 hours in line. You know, oh look, this is really cool. Like, oh, here's Roy Harper's Arsenal costume for the upcoming Arrow Season 3. Which, by the way, Arrow's a fantastic show. If you're not watching it, you should be. But, oh look, here's him in his Arsenal costume. Oh, that's pretty cool. I got to see it. And I didn't have to sit next to another fat, sweaty nerd who also sat in the sun for 7 hours waiting to get in. I have no interest in it. I mean, there's a couple of cool exclusives, like some swag, like here's an exclusive action figure or a statue or something. But even that, you're lucky to get your hands on it. It's just this mad fucking scramble. It's just... And I'll bet you there's not even a good selection of comic books. I bet you there's not even that many comic books there. And I know, because I've been to at least enough cons in my area. I can tell you here lately, even the smaller cons, like Wizard World and shit, there's not that many comic books there. You know, you go there like, I want to find some damn comic books. You're looking for this rare issue, or you're looking to raid a back issue to get some good reading material, and there's just not much. There really isn't. I mean, there's a lot of t-shirts, a lot of action figures. You know, there's a lot of fucking Walking Dead bobblehead dolls, and there's, you know, you can get autographed from here's this guy that was in Star Trek for 10 minutes. Actually, that's not true. The one con I went to, they had all 5 captains from all 5 Star Trek shows there giving out autographs, which I actually kind of regret. I didn't wait in line for that. The line wasn't even that bad. Some of these lines, like the line to meet Stan Lee is ridiculous. What do I want to wait 7 hours in line to say, hey, and then he says, hey, and he signs something if I give him another $20? That's a ripoff to me. I'm sorry. he's not going to remember me. It's not going to be like, hey, Stan, remember when we met? No. I said hi to you at a con after you waited in line for 4 hours like a tool. Yeah, I have no interest in that. And San Diego Comic-Con just seems to me to be so bloated. This bloated monster where it's like everything that's wrong with Comic-Cons in general, with nothing that's right. Nothing that's right about them. I mean, I guess I'd certainly rather go to San Diego Comic-Con than DashCon. DashCon 2015, be there or be nowhere. But, yeah, I have no interest in it anymore. I really don't. And it's almost one of those things where it's so ridiculously crowded, it just seems like it would be unpleasant. I'm almost amazed anybody does even want to go anymore. And more nerds don't want to go. More and more real nerds don't give a damn about it anymore. It's become, I hate to say this because I sound like a fucking hipster, but it's become too mainstream. These kind of things don't survive that well when they're mainstream. I blame Twilight. Once fucking Twilight came out, and all the fucking Twilight girl fans came out, and then we had problems. Ugh. But yeah, I have no interest in San Diego Comic-Con. That said, a lot of cool announcements. They announced the Guardians of the Galaxy animated series coming up here soon. Boy, man, if that movie actually turned out to flop, there'd be some major problems at Marvel because they seem to have banked a lot on it. And I don't think it'll flop. I think it'll be a big hit. It seems like everyone's excited about it. It seems like all the reviews have been nothing but positive. But Marvel sure is putting a lot of eggs in that basket before, one ticket has even been sold yet. But, there was other cool stuff that, panels and whatnot. Stuff on the upcoming Spider-Verse story seemed really interesting. But again, all those announcements, all those cool, here's cool stuff, I can get all of that just reading Newsarama.com. I don't need to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I have no interest in it. So yeah, everybody's like, oh, I bet you'd love to get your hands on tickets. There's a lot of places I'd much rather go. I'd much rather go to the big Mile High comic store in Colorado. It's supposed to be huge and has this ridiculous selection. I bet you I could spend hours going through back issue bins there. But yeah, the actual San Diego Comic-Con, I really have no interest in. It just feel like it would be just crowded, waiting in line, and just for not much payoff. So yeah, I don't think I'd ever go there. Alright, so I try to end these podcasts on a positive note, and this has kind of been a relatively short podcast, because again, the thing I wanted to talk about mostly, obviously, I would have rather had my guest for. I suppose I could tell you why New 52 is bad on my own, but it's one of those things where I'd much rather have another perspective also talking about it, so it doesn't just degenerate into me just a bitch fest with no real insight. And it would be, because I fucking hate New 52. I could easily just ramble. It is bad, and everyone involved should feel bad, and no one wants to listen to that for 40 minutes to an hour. But, trying to end the podcast on a positive note. So I figured I would end with some comic books that you should all check out. Some recommendations. Of everything DC is publishing right now, the only thing I could recommend is Injustice. And it sounds so weird, but it's the comic book that's like a prequel to their fighting game they had last year. And it's fantastic. It really is. It's so weird. The best book DC has is based on a fucking fighting game. But it's just great. It's this alternate take on a world where Superman, the Joker's killed Lois, so he's gone crazy and decided he's the fucking king of the world now. He's going to eradicate all crime, and he's going all dictator on us, and it's so weird. You got this book where Superman gone crazy, he's going to kill everybody, and it feels more like a real Superman book than Action Comics right now. Another really good book that I've recommended a couple of times on here is Mega Man, Archie's Mega Man series. If you are at all a fan of those games growing up, you should check it out. It's tremendously well done. It's great all ages reading material. You know, it's genuinely hard to do family entertainment. Anybody can entertain kids. Kids are stupid, but it's considerably more difficult to entertain everybody, to entertain the kids and the old cynical nerd like myself. Another recommendation. This one a little more retro, going in the back issue bin, but I just reread it again recently. Two of these actually I just reread. The first 12 issues of Thunderbolts from the '90s are fucking fantastic. And if you never read the series, the idea behind it was at the time the Avengers were thought dead. The Fantastic Four were thought dead too. They were actually trapped in a pocket dimension because comics are weird. But they were thought dead, and the guy Baron Zemo, this evil fucking supervillain, decides, you know what? I'm gonna gather up my homies, my fucking villains, the Masters of Evil we're called, and we're gonna assume new identities and become heroes to fill this vacuum. You know, and we're gonna get in good with the governments and get all kinds of insider information, and then we're gonna take shit over that way. And the first issue, we see this new team, the Thunderbolts, and we don't find out they're the Masters of Evil till the end, which was a big deal at the time. I remember that being this huge reveal. Everyone was like, "Holy crap!" And it's just a fantastic. The first 12 issues are just fantastic because there's all this build up. You know, there's as these villains are acting the role of heroes, many of them begin to somewhat find redemption. And it even gets like amped up because at one point they end up taking in a new character, Jolt. Like it was kind of like, or like she asked to join the team in front of a bunch of reporters and they couldn't say no. So once she ended up like joining the team, they had to like keep up appearances of being the hero guys all the time. Like they couldn't. You know, they had to keep up appearances even for her all the time. So this further pushed a lot of them into the role of heroes. Mach 1 and Songbird, who were originally Screaming Mimi and the Beetle, they had the most interesting arc in it. They actually developed a relationship with each other. Mach 1 was really on a path to redemption in this. Redemption was the real theme running through this, as I said in previous videos and all. A lot of the great Marvel comics from the '60s all had themes. You know, Spider-Man was about responsibility. Fantastic Four was about family. X-Men about, you know, identity politics, racial politics. Thunderbolts was about redemption. Eventually, the Avengers and the Fantastic Four return, and it gets found out who the Thunderbolts were, but they almost do succeed in taking over the world. It's really through the help of some of the members of the Thunderbolts who turn on Zemo, on their leader, that they even prevent Zemo from being triumphant. And again, it's just a fantastic read. The first 12 issues in particular, and you could find the back issues. They're pretty cheap. I think number 1 might be like $7 because, you know, it's the first issue of this series. But beyond that, they're usually cover price. They're usually like $3 at the most. And they're fantastic reads. I would highly suggest. I mean, I know there's a lot of new comic fans out there that maybe, you know, you weren't even alive in the fucking '90s, and a lot of superhero shit from the '90s is crap. You know, I'm certainly not going to tell you to go check out the first X-Force arc or anything like that. That's, you know, nobody needs to go check out Youngblood #1 except unless you're looking for a good laugh. But Thunderbolts 1 through 12 are some of the best superhero stuff of the '90s, and some other great stuff from around that time. Oh, pardon me. That again I just reread, so it's fresh in my mind. Is the Volume 3 of Avengers, number 1 through going into it. Kurt Busiek and George Perez's run on it were fucking fantastic. It's what made me an Avengers fan. When the Avengers had returned from this pocket dimension, from the Heroes Reborn stuff, I hopped onto those books when they relaunched. Captain America, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, and Avengers, when they relaunched after they returned to the universe. And I've basically stayed on Avengers since. I have basically been reading Avengers since then. There's been a couple of times that maybe for just financial issues I've missed a little bit. But for the most part, just straight up since then. And like I said, it's what made me an Avengers fan. It's some of the best stuff because it Kurt Busiek and George Perez, and I guess they boiled the Avengers down to classic elements. The Avengers were rough before they ended up in that pocket dimension. The Avengers, so many characters had been written into a corner, but they reduced things to a more classic element. But they did it without any kind of reboot or ignoring the past. The past was still there. We still acknowledged the history of these characters, the good, bad, and the ugly, but we had brought things back to a more classic stance. And it really was the first time in the 90s, really, that Avengers had been really any good. And I know some people that might fight me, this arc was good, but there were so many times before then that I tried to get into Avengers, and I'm just like, Like, wait, Wasp is a bug monster now, and the mess with Iron Man right before Heroes Reborn. But they ironed all that out, and they got back to basics, while at the same time not ignoring the past, and it was so good. It was so good. The artwork was amazing. George Perez is an amazing artist. Probably one of, if not the best, comic book artists of all time, in my opinion. The writing was solid. The team dynamics were amazing. It was just all around solid, fantastic superhero team book. It really was. Like I said, it made me an Avengers fan. I stuck with Avengers since then. It made that much of an impact on me, really. The artwork is so amazing. The run those two had was just fantastic. And then I'm gonna make one more recommendation. This was a mini-series, came out a few years ago. I don't know exactly when. The early to mid 2000s. It was called Daredevil Redemption. And this is a fantastic... I've always been a pretty big Daredevil fan. I like the guy a lot. I like the complicated relationship the character has had with the women in his life, his faith. They say Spider-Man is the everyman character. I've always identified a bit more with Daredevil, though. And Daredevil, again, a lot of the Marvel books had themes, and Daredevil's theme has usually been faith and justice and things like that. And Daredevil's obviously is Matt Murdock is a lawyer in his day job, and this story found him going down to this small southern town because these this group of kids, these teenage boys, they're a bunch of goth metalhead kids. Supposedly are charged with murdering somebody in a satanic ritual, and he goes down there. He's trying to uncover the truth. He ends up being their lawyer, and it's based off of the actual true story of the Robin Hood Hills murders. Loosely based, inspired, really, by it. Where down I think in Tennessee they some retarded kid ended up dead, and they blamed a bunch of the metalhead goth kids. And this is it's a fantastic series, and a fantastic storyline. I don't want to ruin anything, but doesn't exactly have the happiest of endings. And like I said, it's just fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. And again, it's called Daredevil Redemption. You could go online, find a trade paperback that reprints it. Probably not expensive. Um, I mean, the cover price I think was like $15. Well worth it. Probably less than it would take to get all 6 issues, but absolutely well worth it. Um, so yeah, those are some positive recommendations I have. Like I said, try to recommend something on the end of these podcasts. So yeah, that's the Bechtloff podcast this week. Thanks everybody for listening. Bechtloff out.